The deposits of the Third Reich. Thousands of hectares, hundreds of secrets. The task of researcher is to doubt and ask questions. Nazi riddles. Krzysztof Szpakowski and his guests are looking for the answers in his series. Time marches inexorably on. The last witnesses of history also have their final march. They survived the Second World War. They built the complex Riese, worked in a secret ammunition factory, and lived close to these places. Today, those people are more than 90 years old, but those witnesses have precious knowledge retained in their memories. Krzysztof Szpakowski found people who decided to share their memories. Every person keeps inside a fascinating story, the enormous richness being an element of each biography, full of events and experience. I was number 27, 4 years. Jan Latyński is one of a few prisoners building the secret Nazi project Riese, who is still alive. Was this an extra guarded area? Yes. On the other side there was a watchtower. Guards were changing and the place was guarded all the time, so no one couldn't get in. What was it? Insulators were big. They were sprayed with water. All of it was sprayed in so-to-way water beams. Were there any electric insulators, cables and water? They are at odds with each other. I agree, but it used to be like that then. But did you look like that? Yes, it looked like a fountain with water. Well, these insulators cool it? Yes, they were. Were you aware of what it was? No, we weren't. Germans didn't allow us to come too close. Only Germans were working here. Was there any cooling tower? Was there any higher building? No, there was nothing more. It looked like the same way as now. When I came for the first time, I didn't even know what it was, because everything was hidden. One of the main tasks of Latyński was working in a secret factory, Nobel Dynamite. Latyński was responsible for repairing and appliances there. He had a lot of time and possibilities to observe what and where Germans were building. There is some information that trains were descending underground, that Jews were there. Where could this entrance to the undergrounds be? There was a plain. Further, there was a railway track which led to the right. It wasn't a huge railway engine, but the smaller one, the narrow gauge railway.
Przychodził nie jakiś tam lokomotywa, tylko ciuchcia, jak to nazywają. Wąskotorówka. Tak, wąskotorówka.
Did the railway arrive this way? Was the railway track divided in two different directions? It was particularly secured. Only Germans had access here. They serviced everything on their own. This narrow gauge railway had its track somewhere here, but I don't remember precisely where did it enter. Germans didn't allow us to observe the road of this railway, cause they didn't want us to know too much. They were logistically perfectly prepared. They took care of everything. Yes, everything was happening underground. So, if you want to look for something, we should do it close to the entrance to the undergrounds, right? That's right. How was the complex Riese built? Where were its entrances located? Hieronim Grembowicz was working as a forced laborer, probably in a Block A. The earthworks took place there. Initially, he was responsible for masking finished and blow-up entrances leading to the finished Block A. He told that they were going to work to the place where a central tunnel to Głuszyca and two others were located. According to Krzysztof Szpakowski, it can be the central Block B of Włodarz, which nowadays is also masked. Did you know where these drifts lead to? The main corridor to the other side of a street. But for what? I don't really know. The main corridor to the other side of Głuszyca? It was about 200 meters. They carried soil away with carts. Then they tipped it, and that's how kind of yard was created. Then Hieronim Grembowicz became a geodesist helper. He helped an engineer Hoffman. They were responsible for marking out the corridors of now today and open for public Block C in Włodarz. A wonderful person with Polish soul, half Pole, half German. He spoke Polish beautifully. His mother was a Pole? His mother was Polish, but his father, I don't remember, probably not German. How did he treat you? Perfectly. He couldn't do anything. Grembowicz claims that buildings of Block C began in 1944. It was a secret. That is why the transfer of materials and workers was located close to working places. Around Włodarz there were few such places. It was similar in Ossówka, Moszna and Soboń. Germans guarded the division into areas. Another riddle is that while going to work, they were passing by old camps and they were seeing people there. It can be proved that before, in the area of today's Włodarz, the overworks had taken place, probably by the lower levels. It is possible that something had been built before by other groups of prisoners? Something had started there before. Before? What do you mean? Yes. I don't know who had done it. On the same level or lower? Almost on the same. There was maybe about 5 meters difference. They were rather guarding the same level. Yes. After war, you were there in Włodarz and you saw these objects. Have they changed a lot during these years? The main tunnel, it was a platform measuring 10 by 10 meters. Apparently, there was supposed to be a lunchar. The foundations of high-voltage line were built. Jadwiga Wicher remembers the year 1945 very well. Before this year, the war had omitted her small hometown located within the Third Reich borders. Everything started with the arrival of the train loaded with building materials, she recalls. After war, Jadwiga Wicher has stayed in Ludwikowice Kłodzkie. The train stopped here and they unloaded everything on the yard. The yard was here? Yes. Later, the narrow gauge railway arrived. They used such small carts and loaded them. Then they took it up. Post and guarding soldiers were everywhere. Did you see how they were working? Everything was camouflaged. You couldn't just stay and observe, because you never knew what a soldier's eye would see you. Everyone just let it go and took care of herself or himself. We were scared. When we were going to the forest, we were looking for blueberries or mushrooms. We tried not to be interested in their buildings. Sometimes while walking down the street, we could see they were doing something up there, but we didn't think about it. In those times you didn't know with whom you could talk and what you could say. It was safer not to say anything. They were building it and they didn't think it was a Pole or a German. They sent to a concentration camp whoever they wanted to. Was your family house located here? Yes. As far as I'm concerned, there was a road here. Is it true? Yes, there was a road. It was leading to the top. It was next to a big farm and two houses.
A mama...
Ale droga szła do góry też.
A ona tam u góry były, duża gospodarka
Tak.
była, tam były 2 domy.
Tak,
I ona koło tych domów szła.
tak. I znała pani tych ludzi, którzy mieszkali tutaj w tym
Tak,
domu?
bardzo
Did you
dobrze.
know people living in these two houses?
Olbrych,
Yes.
Olbrych,
What were their names?
Pani kiedyś historię,
Olbricht and Heinrich.
że...
Once you have told me a story that someone showed this drift to Olbricht.
Może pani to opowiedzieć?
Yes, he was once telling it to his friend after war, but in Germany. He told that one of guards warned him that he should keep the secret and took him to a fabulous place. He saw a beautiful city.
Mówi, ale nie wolno tego powiedzieć. No i poszedł z nim w środku w skały. Jemu się wydawało, że to jest bajka. Jak tam był w środku, to widział piękne miasto.
Całe miasto.
Was it an underground city? Yes. He was looking for this place more than once, but he couldn't have found the entrance. Finally, he has never found it. It is camouflaged? Then he thought it was a dream, but it was
To
true.
nigdy już więcej nie
Zamaskowane,
znalazł.
zamaskowane.
A jemu się potem wydawało, że to jest bajka była, ale to była prawda.
Was most of work located there, in the area called Waltergrund? Yes, there was the biggest amount of work. Was the camp also there? The camps were there in the forest. Sometimes, when we were going for a walk to the forest, I was wondering what is there below these mounts. But I always felt bad while walking there. I saw people on the streets falling down because of exhaustion. They were mainly Jews. They were so poor, nothing but skin and bones. When it was minus 30 degrees in winter, they were wearing only cloaks and rugs.
To były same Żydy. To nie były inni.
I oni byli inaczej.
To były same Żydy. Oni były taki biedni, to była kość i skóra na nich. Oni zimą 30 stopni, jak on gadał, a oni byli buty drewniaki.
We never saw if they were eating anything. Jews told us that they were working there at the top. Allegedly, they were given food, but no one ever saw it. They were permanently hungry. Sometimes, when we gave them something to eat, they were ready to kill each other for food.
To nikt nie wie, oni wiecznie głodni byli. Jak Pan nieraz coś puścił, to aż się pozabijali.
How did it look like during Germans' withdrawal?
Jak się Niemcy
Everything disappeared literally at one night. Then we didn't see anyone, neither soldiers or prisoners. Was the army withdrawing one day? Yes, whole day. There was plenty of them. There was no end.
Gdzie ich wywozili, nic nie wiemy, co się z nimi
Ale
stało.
mówi pani, całą dobę wojsko i
Wojsko
ludzie jechało.
szło i ludzie i tego. Całą dobę i cały dzień to szło, to bez
Ale ich
końca
też
było.
wyprowadzali, tych więźniów? Też?
Did they take prisoners with them?
To my nie
We
wiem,
didn't see
nikt
any
tego nie
prisoners.
widział. Nie, jak to było.
Stanisław Jaryczewski trafił do pracy w elektrowni w 1948 roku.
Stanisław Jaryczewski started his work as a trainee in a power station in 1948, together with his two friends. He remembers that everything was working then.
Ta elektrownia miała mieć 25 megawatów.
He was shocked with paraments of this power station built by Nazis.
Zabranie
Germans
przez
built
Rosję
here a power
tych
station of
generatorów
25
zostało,
megawatts.
przez
After war, it was taken by Russians.
elektromonterów
They assembled this appliance and built much smaller power plant.
zmontowane o mocy 3 generatory, w sumie o mocy 12,5 megawatów.
Czy mówiło się o powiązaniach tego centrum z tą budowlą Rizy?
What it said that this center was connected with Rize building, we didn't know about the existence of underground city.
Wiedzieliśmy, że tu jest podziemne
Initially,
miasto
we were convinced that the power plant worked for the needs of the surrounding areas.
miejscowości.
No one talked about that.
Ale
We, as engineers, did all of work connected with the functioning of the power station.
są jakieś
Że tu
takie...
dosłownie tak,
tak.
za górką jest.
Po prostu o tym się nie mówiło. My jako praktykanci wykonywaliśmy wszystkie...
We were, for example, commuting to Jugowo by a battery cart with a worker from the fire brigade. Then we found out we were going to an ammunition factory.
Do straży pożarnej wózkiem akumulatorowym w kierunku Jegowa do podziemnej fabryki amunicji.
Panie Stanisławie, po wojnie
You were here exactly in 1948. Is that true?
Tak,
Yes, for a monthly traineeship in August in 1948. There were 3 of us.
W okresie 1948 w sierpniu. I było nas 3 kolegów z liceum energetycznego Wydział Sieciowy.
jak to wyglądało? To wszystko było zagospodarowane jeszcze.
How did all of it look like?
Nie było tak,
Was it developed?
to wszystko,
It wasn't ruined like today?
kopalnie.
A power station, mine, and all of these factories? All of it seemed to have just started. Workers from the east, from the Soviet Union arrived. The plan was to renew the power station of 25 megawatts.
Generatory, które były nowe, bo ta elektrownia miała mieć 25 megawatów.
W latach powojennych to właśnie zatrudnieni w lasach
After war,
mieli wiedzę,
those who were hired in the forest had a substantial knowledge. They were working directly in Rize. Krzysztof Szpakowski has found such witness in Beskidy, in small town Zavoja. In times when you arrived, were there a lot of remains of Rize in the forest? Was there any railway infrastructure? What was there? There were railway tracks and the narrow gauge railway. There were also stables left, where Germans kept their horses. There were a lot of wagons and trucks after narrow gauge railway. When we were collecting wood from the forest, we also had to take the steel, we had no other choice.
To jeszcze bym wyrwali i przeciągali w drugą stronę, bo nie było jak przeciągnąć.
Were there still any entrances to drifts? There was a lot of them. Then it was quite natural for all of you, wasn't it? You weren't surprised, were you? Surely in these times a lot of Indians inhabitants, but also Germans lived here. Did you ask them anything? Did you talk with them? Did they tell you about the building? Did they share this information with you gladly or not really? It depends with whom did you talk. The older Germans were talking with us really gladly. Those who have stayed here on their daughters who have married Polish men. Have you ever found any hidden deposits at your work? Or maybe have you ever been a witness of such finding? Yes, there were a lot of them. I have found many dishes such as plates and cutlery. Later, by the ponds in Głuszyca, a lot of ammunition. There were many excavations with all of these things. When we were taking down wood from the forest and horses were pulling it, at the same time we were pulling out barrels with beer. There were also many other things in the forest. We even didn't have any idea what was it. A lot of strange objects.
To nawet w ten sposób, że jeżeli konie ciągły drzewo, to był beczka z olejem takim dużym. Ściągliśmy to, wyciąg konie i nie wiedzieliśmy, co to jest. No, bardzo dużo różnych takich przedmiotów.
Wśród ówczesnych pracowników lasów państwowych
There used to be a story of one German who stayed after war in the old mountains. He told the foresters the same story many times with the smallest details. It was really emotive for workers of state forest. There were 2 loaded lorries. They entered the forest fully loaded and left it empty. And it was said directly by the German who saw it. Yes. Did he see it with his own eyes? Yes, he did. He told us more than once. We even tried to look for it, but we didn't have the appropriate equipment then.
No, ale tak, no to cóż dalej, nie wiem, myśmy to szukali, a nie było kiedyś
Sprzętu nie było.
nie było. No.
A proszę mi powiedzieć jeszcze, czy...
Did the German tell you what was hidden in these lorries? Did he suggest anything? He suggested that something precious was there. The road leading there was asphalt, then it was changing into a small forest path. Further, there was a fork of the road to the right. We were really curious, what could it be? And by the way, while transporting wood, we were looking for such places.
coś no, bo z opowiadania, nie?
No tak.
Byliśmy bardzo
Czegoś
ciekawi.
charakterystycznego.
Tak, ciekawi.
Ziemianka.
Were you looking for something characteristic? A drift? We didn't find anything. Anyway, we were mainly focused on work. Foresters knew a lot. Deposits were mainly hidden in the forest. Did you, the foresters, talk with each other about any findings? We talk a lot, but at the same time, many of us didn't admit finding anything. It was a secret. If someone had found anything, he or she wouldn't have confused that. People were scared. They didn't trust each other. Then the authorities were punishing those who found something, while we sometimes could even find a weapon in the forest. Did you have any sources about graves of prisoners in the forest or prisoners who died there? I heard stories that there were even human bodies walled in. That they were left somewhere in the drifts? Yes. People claimed that inmates from Gross Rosen who working here were executed by Germans and their body were left somewhere in the forest.
Z opowiadania wiem, że pisze do Gross Rosen.
W latach 60. w Górach Sowich służbę pełnił również Ludwik Latarnik.
Ludwik Latarnik was on duty in the 60s in the All Mountains. His sappers unit from Świdnica protected work of Commission for Examining Nazi Crime. Works took place in Włodarz Mountain, as the former sapper recalls. They entered the undergrounds with other soldiers. They moved on different levels and they found a huge hole. He also remembers that there were many caves in after intentional blown-ups. He and his friends for the first time in their lives have met with such an infrastructure in a mountain terrain. There was a huge amount of cement. People were talking it. They even did kind of a labyrinth while they were taking it from the inside. Were there any signs of camouflage? There were trees planted in barrels. It could be easily seen. Some of the barrels were damaged, but there were staves visible. It was there at the top. Some were close to the cement and concrete.
To było maskowane. To na górze. Na górze, tam gdzie był ten obiekt, te betony. Takie ślizgi szły na dół. Wy nie mieliście za zadanie jako wojsko, żeby to jakoś tam maskować, wysadzać?
Was your task as any army to blow it up or camouflage it? No, we only had to secure it. Were they digging, drilling or only watching? Probably yes, but I wasn't there. It was told that they were looking for something.
Na cmentarzu coś podchodzi. Tam prawdopodobnie były masowe.
If you want to find the answer to bothering questions from 70 years ago, you should refer to documents, especially the valuable ones. Krzysztof Szpakowski, thanks to help of his co-workers, is now the owner of copies and documents classified strictly secretly from the Soviet archives. These are thousands of files. Among them protocols of conversation of Adolf Hitler with his closest collaborator Wilhelm Keitel. They talk, for example, about the way of motivating Wehrmacht to fight on the Eastern Front, about the peace of the Red Army, about Jews who will stay in the area regained by the Soviets, and what is surprising, about the future of Poland. In spite of the Soviets getting closer and closer, they debate about Poland and how to treat Polish population. They focus on nobility descendants, so people who were part of high society then. It was said by Keitel, and things underlined are said by Hitler. What do they say?
Keitel, a to, co jest podkreślone, mówi sam Hitler. Tutaj wyraża taką obawę Hitler.
Hitler is wondering what will happen with Polish nobility and its descendant after Soviets entering. He asks how they will be treated and how will it finish. Different kinds of combinations of materials allotment during war were very interesting. These documents were also top secret. These smaller charts on the left show precisely the amount of materials allotted to individual branches of war economy, to the aviation or the navy. These are the most often military aims, which were supposed to get precise amount of materials.
Które miały otrzymać jakie ilości tychże strategicznych minerałów czy metali. Kriegsmarine, czyli marynarka wojenna, chrom.
Dokumenty dokumentami, Bardzo ważne. Do końca nie wiem, jak to potraktować, co z nimi, jak postępować.
These are very important documents. I still don't know how to treat them. I am sure that these are classified documents and someone who sends them does it consciously.
W przyszłym odcinku zamierzam pokazać, przedstawić Państwu...
In next episode, I am going to present you all of the law aspect of exploration relying on my own example and examples of my friends, the enthusiasts of the Second World War. Thank you for your attention.
Dziękuję za uwagę, Krzysztof Szpakowski.